Hello, gatekeeper friends and friends everywhere. This is a short video for me to introduce how the Gatekeeper Trust had its beginnings, um, and then to go on to describe a little bit about how we can create footsteps of light wherever we are. In other words, we can pilgrimage wherever we are, whether we're in a town, a city, or out in the countryside. Um, so just some quick ideas, quick notes about how it can work and some of my experience in how it works. Well, how did Gatekeeper Trust come about? Beginnings go back a long way, right to the mid 1970s. And I used to have a very great friend and mentor called Sir George Trevelyan. He was known to many people as the father of the New Age, the real New Age, not sort of a cult or anything, but the New Age that's yet to be born. So he came as a preparer of the way, very conscious of his role. And he had the ability to draw people of different ideas and so on together and to share their thoughts. And we used to meditate together too. So all those who were teaching these things often couldn't get together amongst themselves as teachers. And so Sir George Trevelyan used to have once a year a round table conference near Christmas, and this was a get-together for all the teachers, lovely people who were training other people to live a better life. And he'd become a good friend to me, and he invited me along to each year to these roundtable events, even though I wasn't yet a teacher at that time. But I used to have a gift of sight. Some people call it clairvoyance. And I could see angels in the landscape and chakras in the landscape, energies in the landscape, and so on. And I used to share this with Sir George Trevelyan. He was one of the few people I could share it with. And he was urging me to make this public. And I said, well, in my meditations, I've been told by the ones who teach me inwardly that I had to wait for the right moment, and a group would appear who would midwife the whole idea of landscape temples and chakras in the landscape and things like that. So Sir George used to ask me along to the roundtable conferences with this hope in mind. And one roundtable conference I was there, and I was approached by a man called Stanley Messenger. And he'd said, he'd noticed me from the other side of the room in some sort of way and knew he had to come and ask me. And he'd been asked by Sir George Trevelyan to set up a weekend which would teach Steiner's viewpoint of butterflies. And from Steiner's point of view, butterflies, as they fly, they're always in an act of service. They're serving life, serving the land, and dying, because self-service, in that sort of way, is known as a sacrifice of the ego. So butterflies were always dying, and as they flapped their wings, gold dust, as it were, would fly out from their wings. They dropped this gold dust everywhere, blessing the land with this gold. And Steiner could see these things. And so Stanley Messenger had been asked by Sir George Trevelyan to set up a weekend teaching this. Well, Stanley wanted to bring together a group of people to make it entertaining for the weekend, rather than just talk, but to make it entertaining and present it in that sort of way, bringing in not just philosophy, but all the different arts. So he got together a group, including a singer, musician, an artist, dancer, a rhythmist dancer, and so on. And they had their first meeting, apparently. This is how Stanley told it to me. And they realized that none of them actually had the vision or perception that Steiner had. So they hadn't a clue about butterflies actually dropping gold dust. They could only go by what Steiner had said. So they said, obviously, we need to find somebody who can see these things. And Stanley Messenger said to me, and I think you can see these things. So would you join the group? So I said I would, and Stanley went away, and during the next year that followed, he asked the group if I should join it. And so come the next year and the next roundtable conference, Stanley came to me and said, right, they'd like you to join the group, and we'll have our first get together in Wales. So in our first get together in Wales, we sat in a pub having some lunch and talking, and didn't really know how to start the whole thing. And one of the group actually lived in that area in the landscape. She said, "Oh, let me take you up my special valley. We can walk in the valley, and maybe the idea of how to do things will come to us." And as we were walking up this wonderful valley, I suddenly realized we were in a landscape temple. I could see the energies flowing, the chakras and so on. And ahead of us, I could see the throat chakra where two streams met to form the bigger river. And so I led the group there and thought, well, it seems that this is the group that's going to midwife this whole thing, if they agree. And so we stayed there, and I tried to explain it to them as best I could. And we all tuned in there and then meditated on it. And when we came out of the meditation, they all said, yes, yes, we want to dedicate ourselves to helping the landscape in this way. And this in turn, we can see will help people and so on like that. So the whole group made their dedication. And then we went on further, meeting quite regularly in different ways. But there were two main events in these meetings we had exploring things. And one was down in Cornwall in the garden, a good friend of ours called Sheila Hicks. And she was the mother of Beth Holman and her sister Jill. And at that time, when she was still alive, she lived in a house with a lovely garden full of plants. So one summer we went down there with Stanley saying, look, if there are butterflies there, will you have a look at them and tell me if you can see what Steiner sees? And I watched the butterflies, and sure enough, I could see it as they flew. The gold dust, like a gold light, but tangible, would drop from their wings. But I also noticed another thing too, that when the butterflies alighted on a flower or leaf or plant, they would, like, as it were, bask in the sun. And then I was aware of the diva of the garden, who is in charge of the garden, those plants and so on. And I would notice like a bubble sent from this diva down through, oh yes, the diva was connected to every single one of those butterflies, like on a thread of almost silver light, and very like silk. And I would notice a bubble come down from the angel, the diva. So it's another name for it. A bubble come down from the heart of this angel or diva of the garden. And once it reached the butterfly would fly off and go to another place. And the same thing would happen over and over again. So I suddenly realized how the butterflies were connected, to the angel of the garden in this way, the diva of the garden, but also how there was a sort of impulse from the diva connecting to the butterfly, saying, right, now's the time to move. And so I find that very interesting. And of course, as the butterfly moved and flew, it dropped all this gold dust on the ground, blessing it. So fabulous experience. And so I shared that with the group, and Stanley Messenger, who is the Steiner person and an expert, absolute expert on butterflies. And So he was excited. He said, right, I must take you to Springhead, take the whole group to Springhead when the time's right, when all the butterflies are out. So Springhead's a wonderful place in Dorset. Got fabulous gardens and ponds and so on. It's open to the public. So we went down there when all the butterflies were out, and it was absolutely beautiful. And we went beyond the gardens and into some fields beyond. And as we walked through one field, we came to a gate to go into the next field. And I've found there I was moving from one chakra to another in that landscape, and the gate was exactly at the gateway from the one area into the other area, not just from one field to another field, but from one chakra to another. And so I explained this to the group. So we stopped at the gate and tuned into the gatekeeper. So this was the first time the group had experienced this. And then we walked through, and then Stanley said, well, my word, did you see those butterflies in the hedge? He said, they're hedge browns, he said. They're called hedge browns, and they're always at gateways, in hedges at gateways like that. That's where you find them. And so we all sat down. We said, right, we're going to dedicate our group to the gatekeeper, and the symbol of gatekeeper will be the hedge brown butterfly, the gatekeeper butterfly, the hedge brown. So that's how it came about. And at the same time, we dedicated our group to eventually establishing a charitable trust. And so that really was the start of Gatekeeper Trust. It took a few years to get the charity status for it. Well, that's how it came into being. Through the butterflies, the gold dust, the act of service, and the gatekeeper, who's so important. The gatekeeper really is the spirit of the place, spirit of the land, or spirit of the place. So when you enter a place, at the door, you greet the gatekeeper, who actually is the host of the place, the spirit of the place. So it's just like if somebody knocked at your front door. You are the owner of the house. It's your house, your home, but you would answer the door, and at that moment you are the doorkeeper or gatekeeper. And then the person who wanted to come in would introduce themselves, say why they've come, and then you would ask them in if it was appropriate, or they would ask if they could come in, and you would say yes or no as appropriate. And then once you're invited in by the person whose home it is, you'd be made comfortable, be shown around if that was the appropriate thing, and so on like that. And so it is with the landscape. If you ask the gatekeeper, who's the spirit of the place, why, if you can come in, you state why you have come. You would love to come into that place, that locality, and then you would offer a gift. Often when you visit somebody's house, you take a gift with you, especially being invited for a meal or something. So you would offer some sort of gift. It doesn't have to be a physical one. You just offer your heart, a heart gift. You offer it up. You say, I bring you my love. I bring you my friendship, or whatever you want, whatever feels right. And then you wait for the answer, just like you would if you're knocking on somebody's door. You wait for the answer. You wait to be invited in. You don't barge in. And that's key to this, because if you're just a tourist, tourists just tend to barge in. They don't think about gatekeepers or anything like that, or the spirit of the place. They just go in. And so the place shuts down, basically. So all the secrets are hidden from tourists like that. It's the same thing if you go into a cathedral. Tourists who go into a cathedral like Westminster Abbey, the whole place is shut down. The energies are not humming. It just is a place to see, and historical interest and so on like that, and there are people to show you around and whatnot like that. But as soon as there is a service, you in effect have to ask to go in. You're then invited in to take part in the service, and the chakras open, and the whole place hums with energy and light. And when the service is finished, it ends, it's closed down properly, and you leave. And then the energy is shut down again. It's like the chakras close up. It's a lovely symbol in the East of a heart chakra, for instance, being like a lotus in the water. A lotus opens the sun, but then in the evening, the sun goes down, the lotus close up again. So it's like an opening and a closing of the whole energies. Whereas the same thing with cathedrals, same thing in the land. If you ask to go in, it'll open up to you, and you get invited in, and you do your act of service. And then you come out and you say, thank you very, very much. And it's often good to see, as it were, that door or gate being shut. I mean, it's a metaphysical thing. You don't have, if there's a physical gate, of course, you shut that. If it's a physical door, you shut that. But if there is no physical gate or door, you, in your mind, you just visualize there's a door shutting. And quite a good way of doing that is just imagine a big cross of light and a circle of light at that gateway. And that is a protective symbol. It's protection for various reasons I'll explain another time. So this is the basic science behind Gatekeeper. The other thing I noticed as we were walking more and more in the landscape together in this sort of consciousness and asking the gatekeeper and so on like that, I noticed it opened people's hearts more and more as well, because it became more in tune with the land. By greeting the gatekeeper, you immediately start to tune into the heart of the land, the spiritual heart, because that's what an angel is, really, angel of the land, or of a town, the same thing in a town, or a place, even a home, same thing in a home. The angel of the home is the angel of the heart of the home, the heart angel. And although there is an angel for each chakra as well, but the overall heart chakra is also overall, as if we're one huge chakra around us. And in fact, once we develop ourselves through a life of service, life of love in service, our heart chakra does in fact get bigger and bigger and bigger until it enfolds our whole aura. And then we are just a sun of light, a wonderful sun of light. But that's a very high development. But we're all aiming for that. We're all aiming to become shining suns of light. And then we'll be true son daughters of God, who's love, expressing that love all the time. So anyway, you really, the spirit of the place is really that heart angel that also embraces everything that place is. And I would notice as we opened our hearts in this way, in tune with the land and the landscape angel, so on, like joining heaven and earth together, aware of the inner world, which is what heaven represents, and the outer world, which is what the earth and nature represents. You're in tuning to both simultaneously. And as the group did that, when I would walk behind them, I could see them actually leaving footprints of light on the ground. And that's the equivalent of the butterflies dropping their gold whenever they flap their wings and fly, dropping gold dust on the land. We can do the same as we walk the land in this loving, gentle, kind, appreciative way. We can do the same as the butterflies, only for us it comes as a kind of light, love light, through our feet. Even if we've got shoes on or boots on, it'll still go through our feet into the ground and leave these footprints of lovely, soft light. I can't honestly say I've seen them golden in colour, but they have that warmth feeling to them, so you can imagine them as a golden white light imprinting the ground. Great pilgrimage routes, like the to Santiago de Compostela, once you're onto the Camino, where millions of pilgrims, well, thousands every year, and millions have walked it over the centuries. It's a pathway of light from all these millions and millions of pilgrims stepping in love and devotion, all for different reasons, but all have, basically as a pilgrim, you have this love, this devotion for something that is spiritually good. And you've chosen to pilgrimage the land in that way, so you have a love for the land too, and the land teaches you go along. You build up this relationship, and then the pilgrim starts to leave these footprints of light. And so the whole pathway is virtually a pathway of light all the way to Santiago de Compostela in northwest Spain. Wonderful things, and we can turn other landscapes into this, and it's part of the way we can turn the whole earth into a wonderful planet of light. I'm not talking about physical light, I'm talking about the etheric and spiritual light. And that affects our minds, that we think more clearly, become more illumined, and therefore we do things that are better and more in harmony with everything. And in this way we build what's called a golden age on earth. Well, we can do this every day. You know, our daily walk. At the moment, we're all having to be careful because of the coronavirus pandemic, and most people, I'm not at the moment, I'm confined to my house and garden, but I hope you and others can have your daily walk out, either in the landscape or in the townscape. I think you're allowed to go about a mile or something, and you must keep your right distance from other people. It's very important at the moment. We must all take this very, very, very seriously. It is an initiatory test. It's like a dark night of the soul, but if we get through it in the right sort of way, in a loving way, it will enable something truly new to be born in society, which will start the beginning of building a golden age. But a lot of some of the old thinking and behavior has to die. It's either end of its use has come, or it's actually not even useful. It never been useful. You know, it's been wrong sort of thing anyway. And these things are now being quickly taken away from us, and it makes it difficult. It makes a real challenge, and takes many people to the threshold of psychological and even physical death. Many people die, and brings out that sorrow. But through sorrow we can reach what's called joy. Through darkness we can reach light. But we have to learn and do this carefully. Well, every day, those of you you can go for your walk and tune into the gatekeeper as you leave the house, the gatekeeper of the place you're going to walk to or in, and center yourself, focus on your heart, center yourself in your heart, make sure you're fully there, fully balanced, and so on. Breathe in the light of the universe, breathe it out again to share. That light is the radiance of love. So as you're breathing in the light, you're also breathing in the love of the universe, breathing it into your heart, adding to it your own love, and you're breathing out that love to others, to your environment, to other people you might meet and pass on the way, and to buildings. You're amongst buildings. It's in breath of the universe into your heart, breathing out your individuality to the universe, breathing in the light, breathing out the light, breathing in the love, breathing out the love. And this will help build up your consciousness. It'll bring you peace. It'll enable you to open your heart more and more. And then as you do this, you will have started walking by now. And as you walk, also remember to greet the sky above, the earth beneath. These two wonders, the wonder of the sky, the heavens, the wonder of the earth, Mother Nature, and symbolically got Father Sky, Mother Earth, and they love each other. They're in a love relationship. They are one. They are one, although they might appear as two opposite things, but they're really one. And their love relationship is the third that makes the Trinity. Their love relationship is expression of love, which is light. And as we walk on the land, it's like we're on the horizon between heaven and earth, where heaven and earth meet, where heaven, face of heaven meets the face of the earth. Their interface. So if you remember in Genesis, it says the Spirit of God breathed upon the face of the waters. You know, it's the face, the interface, one touching the other in love, loving each other. Love gives, love responds. You know, it's a give and take on both sides. It's wonderful love, and that creates the light. That love relation creates the light. We're walking in that interface, so we become part of it, and we can help this whole thing to happen more and more and more within ourselves. We even have a crown and a root too, you know, heaven and an earth, and they love each other, and that's our heart. Our heart expresses that love relationship of our crown and root, and so it's a good way to try to walk, greeting the earth and sky, the heavens and the earth around you and within you, and so on. Talk to the gatekeeper as you walk. Tell it why you're walking and what you want to do, the love you want to give. And also it's good to have a vision. There's a wonderful saying in the Bible, in the Old Testament, without a vision the people die. And always, right from a young age, that stuck in my mind. Without a vision people die. Out of your heart, imagine the best you can for all humanity and nature, how we can live together in harmony and peace and in love, caring for each other and creating good things together, to express more and more of this wonderful divine love. Just imagine it, envision it. That's creating the vision. We all need that vision. The whole earth needs that vision. And then we can go out of the darkness into the light without fear, because we know we're going to create this. We have the vision, we're going to create it. If you've got no vision, you don't know where to go. So, of course, you're in despair and you kind of hark back to the past because that's the only thing you know. You want to just do the old things again. But you've got the vision, the good vision of the future. You say, that's where I want to go. I'm going to go for it. And we can all do that. We can all help and let that thought go into the general thought of humanity, into Gaia, the consciousness of Gaia. And other people might just pick it up and inspire them and add to their visions, or give them a vision if they haven't got one already. And then we can talk about it, we can share it with each other. It's ever so important, these things. The other thing that's so important is to have an awareness and appreciation of everything. Everyone likes to be appreciated. Well, so do places. They like to be appreciated. Trees, plants, flowers, all like to be loved, to be appreciated. So love is more than just sitting there and saying, I love you. It's actually, God, you are very beautiful. And look, you've got 5 petals, or you've got 6 petals or something. What a lovely geometry. What a lovely beauty this is. And the trees, you just appreciate them and go through your mind. You look at them very clearly, just like looking at a friend. You become best friends with someone the more you get to know them and the more you appreciate them. That appreciation, it's a very, very special thing, and it enriches lives, our lives, everyone's lives, and the lives of nature too. Another thing that happened to me with the early gatekeeper group, or some of us in the group, we ended up at some chapel near the seashore. I forget where it was, but it's quite a long walk, or difficult walk to get to it. And as we looked in this little chapel, this dark chapel, we could see on the altar somebody had placed a vase of flowers, but they were drooped. They obviously needed water or something. So we thought we would experiment and send out our love and appreciation for those flowers. And we did. I don't forget, I think it's 4 or 5 of us. And we stood there at the entrance, just radiating this love and appreciation of the flowers. And blow me, they actually stood up and radiated their love, their beauty back to us. That's the only time I've actually seen it happen so dramatically, but it's obviously to show us that this can happen, that this does happen when you do it. So I can't claim I've ever seen it so dramatically again since, but I have seen it is something that happens. If you appreciate somebody else, they brighten up. And suddenly they come out, they might be in a depression, but they brighten up suddenly when you appreciate them. And the same thing with nature, they suddenly brighten up and they start to shine back at you and speak to you. So that's something we could all do. It's so easy to do. And don't go around with a critical mind, go around with an appreciative mind. That's the key to so much. And then another thing to do is remember the elements. You can be in a city, you can be in a garden, you can be out in a landscape, in nature somewhere. But wherever you go, there are all the 4 great elements: the earth, the water, the air, and the fire. Fire is very special. Fire gives warmth and it provides light. It does these 2 things. And so the sunlight we get, that's a result of fire. The sun is a fire, a flame, radiating its light and its warmth. And the warmth is an energy. The light illuminates, the warmth gives an energy that we all need, and it's life-giving. And so don't forget the fire that's everywhere in nature and in the sky and so on, in that sunlight. And the air speaks for itself. We know what the air is, we know what water is, we know what the earth is. Always give thanks. We need these 4 main elements, otherwise there'd be no life. The secret is to create a harmony amongst them all so that they live together in a flowing unity in some way, and each playing their part as they should. And then out of that comes what's called the ether. The alchemists called it the ether, and that's the light itself, but that's the radiance of love. So we have to help the elements to love themselves, and we love them. And this, I'll tell you another time, is the secret of how to talk to angels about the weather and things like that. Now I need to move on. It's meant to be a short video. It's got rather long. But when you've finished your walk, don't forget to give thanks. Give thanks to nature, or give thanks to the townscape you walk through. Give it thanks and thank the gatekeeper very, very much. And then before you move on to something else, think about sealing it. So it's like shutting the gate. You also need to shut the gate on yourself. If you opened yourself up wide, but you're going into a different environment for a different purpose, it's good just to seal yourself, as it's called. It's closing the gate. And then just imagine then that you are a cross of light with a circle of light around your auras. And then you can put a smaller cross of light, a circle of light, on your heart chakra. And you can do more if you like. You seal each of your chakras, but that would be enough after a walk. And then you go and do your other job you've got to do, whatever it might be. Well, thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed listening and it's been helpful. And I wish you well. Goodbye for now.